So I get online, I search healthy restaurant, and this is a city that's got thousands of restaurants, and nothing came up. And I was just like crushed. I need to start one. I need to start a restaurant that my parents can eat every meal at, and I would feel confident that they're going to live a longer, healthier life. It just took off from there.
All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fit Vegan Podcast. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest. We met in Washington at the PCRM conference. I basically ate there almost every single meal. And so he's a visionary in the plant-based food industry, and he's the founder of Fruitive, a certified organic plant-based restaurant that's all about offering delicious, healthy, and sustainable food choices. Fruitive is more than just a restaurant. It's a movement towards conscious and mindful eating and living. And Gregg, the founder and CEO of Fruitive, has been on a mission to make healthy food accessible while maintaining a strong commitment to sustainability and ethical practices. All right, welcome to the Fit Vegan Podcast. I'm your show host, Maxime Sigouin, and I'm the founder and CEO of Fit Vegan Coaching, a company that is on a mission to help 10,000 people get lean, thrive, and reduce their risk of chronic illnesses by 2033 and 1 million by 2050. I believe that having a fit, healthy body and mind is the foundation to living an incredible life, and this is what we'll show will give you if you choose to listen and implement. Enjoy the episode and have a great day. Gregg, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you. It's so exciting to be on after spending time with you at the conference here in Washington, D.C., and really being able to serve you multiple meals a day. It was just so cool to be able to connect in person like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when my wife and I went to the conference, we were looking for a restaurant that was in alignment with our values of eating whole food, plant-based, and being unprocessed and healthy. And then, yeah, we didn't know you were a sponsor of the event because we flew in a few days before to explore Washington.
Yeah.
And then we just stumbled on your restaurant. We're like, wow, this is clean. This is like how we eat at home. And so we just ate there until we knew that you were connected with PCRM. So it was amazing.
Yeah. The how we eat at home is really what drives me. You know, it's shocking to me how often you go out to a restaurant and the stuff they're, the cans of stuff they're putting in your food, the list of ingredients on there is 50 ingredients long. And it's just like, what's going into my body when I go out to eat? And so really like what you just said, find in a restaurant that's the way you like to eat at home, clean eating, really knowing what you're putting in your body. That's really how I started this whole journey with Fruitive is saying, why are there not more places out there that the concept is feeding me the same kind of food I want to feed my family?
Yeah. Actually, my brain wants to dive into that now. We'll come back to your vegan story a little bit later on. But talking about that, I don't know for you, but when I grew up and we went to the restaurant, it was more of the mindset of pick something that you don't eat at the house. Like treat yourself with something that is outside of the norm of what you would normally consume. And I feel like that's what people approach restaurant food with. And being this day and age where there is no Uber Eats and all these meal delivery services where it's not as special to kind of eat out. How do you, as an owner of a vegan restaurant, also makes really clean food? How do you navigate that?
Yeah, so I think there is that desire to eat something special when you're, when you're out and about. So what we've done is, we start with that concept of let's use ingredients that we want our kids to eat, we want our parents to eat, that I want in my body. That's the basis. But then let's make food that tastes delicious. Let's make food that is consistently amazing. And so that people do have that feeling of like, hey, clean food, that's plant-based, organic, that's the foundation. But hey, I want an awesome experience. How many times did we go to healthy restaurants and it was bland and it didn't taste great, and we left with this impression that healthy food didn't taste good? Like that's the worst case scenario for me as a restaurateur. Like best case scenario is that we have very clear and strong standards as our foundation, but then that we have a lot of pizzazz and flavor, and that customers are saying, hey, that plant-based food I had makes me want to eat more plant-based food. And makes me want to eat plant-based all the time because it actually tastes incredible.
Yeah, you guys did a good job. I can't remember the it's been a few months now since we've been down there, but like your burger, like I think we
Yeah.
ordered it every time we were there. That was delicious. You had one of your
Yeah.
bowl, I think it was like Tuscan bowl. There was like a sauce that came with it.
Oh yeah.
Uh
The
yeah,
Tuscan
that
kale
was
wrap. Yeah, that blows
what,
people
yeah.
away.
So delicious. So you guys are oil free as well, right?
So actually,
For some of
we
the
we were oil free for about a year, and it wasn't. We didn't start off oil free. We started off low, reduced oil, and then for
yeah.
about a year I went oil free. But we had a real pushback from a lot of our regular customers that were saying, "Hey, like you really lost some of that delicious flavor that we came to expect in some of your dressings."
Oh
And
yeah.
so we brought back a little bit of oil, but we brought it back really intentionally and with the mindset of how do we keep the oil to a minimum. So we're
Yeah.
very conscious about our use of oils because a lot of the research that a lot of the great doctors that spoke at PCRM, actually there was a session on
Yeah.
oil use. They really are throwing shade on the idea that oil is good for us. So, I think that's something that, very conscious of making sure that we're reduced oil, reduced salt, reduced or no added sugars.
Yeah. And I think that's smart because like a lot of restaurant, they'll put something in the pan and there's like, a quarter cup of oil just to cook
Hmm.
that one thing. And
Yeah.
so obviously you guys are keeping it clean and minimal as possible.
Yeah.
Um, where do you like we're jumping into it. Well, we'll talk about your story later, right? People will learn about it. I've always wondered because Ivy and I, like obviously with Fit Vegan, like we have the coaching. I bought all the domains if ever I wanted to build a gym, a restaurant, or a food
Hmm.
or anything like that. And we think of the restaurant space and it's like, well, if I was to build something, like, yeah, I would go
Hmm.
down the path of like what I'm sure your core values are is like, hey, we would remove all the oil, we'd remove the salt, we'd
Hmm.
make it like SOS to a certain extent, eat whole food plant based. But it's like, I don't know if it would survive in
Yeah.
this day and age with the way that people's taste buds are so numb. Like it would taste so bland to them unless they
Yeah.
already eat clean, then they would actually like taste the flavors of the food that they would be consuming. It's like how do you balance that line of
Yeah.
again, I've watched a lot of interviews from you before in preparation for this. I have a
Hmm.
core understanding of your values, but
Yeah.
then it's like, what is the market going to pay for so that you can continue to operate as a restaurant?
Yeah, you really just nailed it on the head as far as what my biggest challenge is in being somebody who wants to be perfect. I want to have the menu like perfectly healthy and like, SOS free as much as possible. No sugar, no added sugar, no salt, no oil. But then you run into the realities that we need to survive. That if we don't have
Yeah.
enough customers coming, then we got to shut down. And so it's
Yeah.
really that it's trying to figure out like how do I keep this as healthy as we can, but also have it be so that that healthy person that is SOS free, when they bring their family and when they bring their friends and they're trying to introduce them to the concept, that everybody in the group is saying, hey, like this is awesome. Like I could eat here more often. That's what we want. We can't just only like 5 to 10% of our customer base is vegan. And so we
Yeah.
really, in order to survive, we have to be able to appeal to the masses to some degree. And so that's where, that's where I've tested out things over the years. I've tested out being completely SOS free, and we got a lot of pushback. Lost some of our regular customers that said that the flavor wasn't the same. And so then we said, okay, let's add it back, but let's just be really careful with how much we're adding.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that because I feel like the vegan community, I just had a Colin Patrick Boudreau. You familiar with her? Joyful Vegan.
Okay.
I just had her on the show yesterday. We're recording and we're talking about how the vegan community, there's so many subsections everyone's kind of fighting for the same thing, right? We all want
Yeah.
the same outcome for people to eat more plant-based, whether it's for the animal health or environment.
Hmm.
But some of the subsections are bashing on each other because they're not
Hmm.
doing it the way that they want to
Yeah.
do it. And so I
Hmm.
hear I have a lot of friends that own some restaurants out here. Like some vegans will go and leave negative comments and negative review because they're
Yeah.
not vegan foods in a certain way, right? Either it's not whole
Yeah.
food, either there's salt or whatever it may be, but they're missing like the point that like, hey, we're getting people to eat more plant based. So
Yeah.
like, have you had to deal with any of that in your years of being in a restaurant industry?
Yeah. It's interesting that, a lot of times the people that are really on the more strict side of the healthy vegan, as long as we have options for them, they're happy because they're so used to
Yeah.
not having any options at all. And so
Anything
what
other than a
we've
salad.
Yeah. As long as we have options and they're able to come in and say, hey, I'm like not doing, salt. And we're like, oh yeah, we have so many options for you. Or I'm not doing, since we're talking about SOS-free today,
Yeah.
so far, I'm not doing oil. I'm like, yeah, we have options for you. And so what we found is as long as we have those options for people, people are delighted.
Yeah. And how do you, oh, sorry, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to come back to SOS free because I think it's something that it has been on my mind a lot.
Yeah, it is very niche though, right? Like when I entered the world of veganism, there was so many categories. There was like raw
Hmm.
vegan, there was raw teal 4, there was like keto vegan, there was whole
Yeah,
food plant based. And then when I got into whole food plant based, I thought that was it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna eat whole food plant based and it's done. And then I
yeah,
heard about SOS. I'm like, oh my God, that is such another subcategory that is so small that
yeah.
I I understand. It makes more sense to have options for them than to
Hmm.
have a full restaurant because I feel like it's such a small market that is spread
Yeah,
everywhere that there wouldn't be enough for kind of a restaurant to survive in one city.
yeah. So let me tell you a SOS free story, and it's very recent. I had somebody come to me who their doctor told them that um, uh, if they don't get their act together and get healthy, that uh, they were heading towards some very negative consequences. And so this person came to me and they were just like they were. The doctor had actually said they were morbidly obese. Is that kind of the top
Yeah.
category? Yeah. So the doctor said like you were morbidly obese, and there's a lot of other health issues that were going on. You know, there was like pre diabetes and that was potentially coming up, and just some other really terrible health situations this person was in. So they came to me and they said, "Hey, let's work together." Um, and they said, "Okay, I'm gonna be plant based. You're gonna have me on a plant based diet." And I'm like, "Yeah." And so they went to the grocery store and they came back to me the next time we met and they said, I'm so excited. There's so many plant based options. Every single aisle I went down in the grocery store had plant based options. There's plant based milks, there's plant based burgers, there's plant based chips, there's plant based popcorn, there's
Yeah.
plant based candy. And they were just like, this is going to be easy. And I said, okay, but you're going to be on a special plant based diet. You're going to be on what we call an SOS free whole food plant based diet. And I explained to them that means that it's focused on whole foods. Where you're going to find in the produce aisle, and it's SOS free, meaning no salt, no added sugar, and no oil. So the same person, after we had that second meeting, they go to the grocery store and then they come back and report it to me, and they said, "I can't eat anything." Like all those aisles that I went down, all that packaged food, like every single one of the packages I looked at had oil, salt, or added sugar to it. And they
Yeah.
were like, this is actually going to be harder than I thought. So anyway, the person started this year, actually, it was this summer, May 1. And within a couple weeks, they said, this is the best diet I've ever been on. They were losing weight. They were feeling amazing. Their body felt energetic. And it was also, there was also a fitness component to it. And so they said, I can't, they couldn't do one push-up. They couldn't run. They hadn't run in years. And so I said, we're just going to start off by, clocking in 6,000 steps a day. Just keep it simple.
Yeah.
And they said, I really want to do a pull-up. I haven't done a pull-up in years. So I said, all right. So every day you're just going to grab hold of that pull-up bar and you're just going to strain yourself just a little bit. Just kind of strain, try to pull up. Anyway, I'm just so excited to report. That was May 1 that they started. I just found out from them this week after 4.5 months. I talked to them on Monday and he said, I just did my first pull-up that I've done in probably over 20 years. And it was just so exciting. They're now up to 14 push-ups. This person's lost about half the weight that they want to lose, that their goal is to get into the normal range. And they actually love this SOS-free plant-based diet. And if they came to Fruitive, we're going to have options for them. And so it's just really exciting to see people that, are in that situation where they really do need to go more strict because of, of their health situation they're in.
Yeah. I can't remember who was talking. I think it was Dr. Goldhammer. Because I was just at the Plant Nutrition Project in Anaheim. They had another conference that we sponsored there. And he was sharing one of the stories. I think it was either him or Furman. But one of them said, like, if it's in someone that's an alcoholic, you're not going to tell them to drink wine from time to time, right? You're just going to tell them to cut it out. So there's not that temptation there. If it's an alcoholic and they want to like lean down, you're not going to make them drink a glass, once a week. You're just completely going to cut it out. And so for some of the people, I guess food's a little bit different than alcoholism for sure. But for certain people, it's like from time to time, allowing themselves to have some sugar is going to have some mental sanity to it. And for some people in extreme scenarios, it's like, hey, you just need to like completely cut it out so that temptation, it's not even an option anymore. And it's awesome that you're able to be there and support because you still want to have a social life. You still want to be able to eat out. But if there's a lot of the restaurants are going to have a ton of oil, they're going to have a ton of salt, or they're going to, load that stuff up with sugar. And it's besides eating, iceberg lettuce salad with no dressing on it, there's not too many options.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that it's, that strict SOS free is very critical and important in situations, for people. And some of the people that really need to see that rapid change, that's really what I would recommend to anybody who really needs to see a big change in their life. I would say, hey, go to that strict diet and maintain that in order to really get to the place that you and your doctor agree you need to be at.
Yeah. So how do you come up with the recipes? Like, what is let's start with this. What are like the top 2 dishes that most people order at the restaurant?
Yeah, so our number one seller this last few months was the antioxidant superberry bowl or antioxidant acai bowl. And one of the really cool things that we do with our acai bowls, most restaurants, they'll get the acai full of sugar. And so if you go to the store and you look at like the acai packets, most of them have added sugar to it. We just get the acai with no added sugar. It's just straight up acai. And so our acai bowls, you can actually taste the fruit. The flavor of the berry is what's coming out, not that added sweetness. And so our customer base really loves to taste the actual berries and to let the berries speak for themselves. And so we really found a lot of success in our smoothie category, in our acai bowl category, not trying to be like that super sweet, kind of sugary product that a lot of people have gone to, but really saying, hey, like let's have this be like the berries themselves, the fruits themselves, the granola on top that we make, it's just naturally, it tastes incredible. And so let's just let the natural flavors come through.
Do you guys make your own granola?
Yeah, we make our own granola. I'm here in my kitchen. I got two big, huge commercial dehydrators over here that we're making our own granola.
How, if you're okay revealing the secret sauce, how do you guys
Yeah.
make your own granola? Because a lot of the time it's super high in fat and it's loaded with sugar. And I'm assuming that's
Yeah.
because they're trying to make it stick together, so it makes granola
Yeah.
clumps, I think.
Yeah. So our secret sauce uh, is actually apple sauce.
Mm.
So we use we use apples to bring that sweetness to our granola. So
Does that
that's
help with the stickiness too, to make the
yeah.
clumps?
Yep, that helps with the stickiness. Kind of helps bind things together. There's of course some other ingredients in there, a lot of nuts and things, but really it's that it's the it's that applesauce that's kind of like a secret ingredient.
Oh, I would have never thought of that because I was trying to make some at home and it tastes terrible every time.
Yeah,
And it's just dried oats and like,
yeah.
almonds and whatever, and they're all just falling apart. So
Oh my
it's more of a
goodness.
mix than a granola.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, what's another popular dish besides like, because obviously I'm assuming smoothie and all that would have been more popular because we kind of just, we're ending summer now. And
Yeah.
so moving into the next season, what tends to be some of the most popular dishes in the colder months? Because you're in Washington, so you guys are gonna get some snow, in a few months now.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the popular items are wraps have been popular for ages. We have the same, wraps that we've had on the menu for 12 years. The Southwest wrap. That one's a really good one. But actually, we launched earlier this year a tofu scramble breakfast wrap, and that sales of that breakfast wrap have actually exceeded the sales of our wraps that we've had for over 12 years. And so
Oh wow.
whenever we add something to the menu and we see it exceed some of our long-term menu items, we're always super excited about that because it's actually kind of rare that you'll have a new item on the menu that beats some of those items that you have regulars that come in and always get that same item. So the tofu scramble breakfast wrap has actually been a really strong seller this year.
And are you guys gonna make that other one? Because when we were in Washington, it was more of like a breakfast bagel, right? It was like, I think it was like chickpea
Yeah.
egg or something.
Yeah, we do have that one. That one actually hasn't been selling as well as I was hoping.
Oh, it was good. We
It was
loved
good,
it.
but people, for whatever reason, they're gravitating towards that breakfast scramble, like more the tofu scramble.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you don't always know. It's like there's been so many times over the years that I launched a new category or new item, and I think, oh man, people are gonna love this, and then no, and then it just doesn't sell, and it's like you're kind of surprised and sad and all the work that went into like the new exciting item, and then people just aren't into it. So whenever you have something that gets added to the menu, like the breakfast tofu scramble wrap, and it just like kind of just takes off and the sales pick up and they keep going and the more people try it and then they bring their friends to try it. And then it's like, okay, I didn't totally see that coming, but I'm happy we figured out, something that works.
Yeah, yeah. Just try a bunch of things and see what works. And sometimes it's not the thing that you were the most passionate to create, right? No, I get it.
Yep.
You're at bed and you're like, oh, this recipe is going to be so good and people are going to love it. And then, barely anyone buys it.
One of the big categories, and we put all this time and energy and we like launched it right at the beginning of summer, and I was so excited about it, and we had like special signs made for it, and it was nice cream with bananas. And we kind of got everything set up, and it was going to have different toppings, and it was like dead. Nobody was buying it. And we're like, people coming with kids, and the kids didn't want it. Everybody just wanted the classic smoothies that they'd always gotten from Fruitive. And people tried it, and then they just went back to the smoothies. So I always think of that when I think of like getting excited about something, thinking people are going to embrace it. And then it's just kind of a dud.
Yeah, it's got to build like an MVP. Minimum viable product. Just what's the lowest cost to kind of test that thing? And
yeah, exactly.
I feel like that's part of business, right? Like you get excited about a new idea and you put a bunch of money in it, and it just tanks. You're like, oh shit! I could have tested this for way cheaper.
I know. Oh well, I've learned some lessons over the years.
I'm sure. Well, actually, let's talk about that because this is the second location, right? Because I think was the first one was at Virginia Beach.
Yeah, so we started in Virginia Beach in May of 2012, and then in 2015 we opened our second location in Washington D.C. Uh, and that's it, like right downtown DC. We're just a few blocks from the White House, and really awesome area of downtown DC.
Yeah, it's
And
beautiful.
and then we, over the years, we opened up a few more locations, a couple more in Virginia and another one in DC. But when COVID hit, we had to shut down the those additional locations. So we're back to our original two. We still have Virginia Beach, our original Virginia Beach location, and then we have the Washington D.C. location. And it's COVID hit the restaurant industry hard, and
Yeah,
it's we still feel the impact of it. Um, but I'm excited for the future. I think that we're in the right industry. We're in the industry where
for
we're
sure. It's
promoted.
growing.
Yeah, we're focused on people's wellness, and I think that's something that more and more people are paying attention to.
Yeah, and I think more and more people, I've been vegan for I'm going on a decade next month, and when I first started, there wasn't like vegan junk food, right? It was like
Hmm.
Oreos. That was pretty much your only option at the time, and like tofu that was banana flavored. Like that was a wild night. You had tofu that was banana or strawberry flavored. Like that was dessert,
That's
and
hilarious.
now that kind of more food has become the process and like you were saying about your client as well, where I went to the grocery store, like there's so many things that are plant-based. I can eat candy, I can eat cookies, I can eat
Yeah,
chips. But I feel like people are realizing now that you can still be overweight and unhealthy even though you're eating vegan, even though you're eating plant-based. I feel like
yeah,
there's just slowly a shift going towards going being more healthy. And I feel like
yeah,
some of the restaurants that are already going to be established at that point will reap the benefits from that
yeah,
because yeah, we tried another vegan restaurant while we were in Washington. I'm not going to name the name of it because I didn't
yeah,
have good reviews of it, but oh my god, was it ever oily and I was
yeah,
told by a lot of people, it's like it's really good. I felt terrible after. I had to
yeah.
walk for like an hour just to
No,
kind of digest and feel better after because it was so heavy.
yeah.
And I could taste, going from PCRM into food there to eating
Oh,
that. I was like, it's so salty, it's burning my tongue. Um, so
yeah,
where did this passion for you come to, in like build all of this and endure all of this? Because, you've been in business for longer than I have, and
hmm,
this shit's hard. And having
yeah,
to navigate opening new locations, setting up employees for it, and kind of had to navigate, the chaos of COVID and all that. There has to be a real passion for wanting to serve people and for wanting to help people. So where did that start for you?
it started in 2011 when my parents called me and they said, "Hey, Greg, can you help us find a restaurant in the city we're driving through?" And so I got online and I searched for healthy restaurant. Now, my parents didn't ask me to find them a healthy restaurant, but me being their kind son thought I want my parents to eat healthy. So I get online, I search healthy restaurant, and this is a city that's got thousands of restaurants, and nothing
Yeah.
came up. Like seriously, there was like just no healthy options, and I was just like crushed. It's like, why is there no healthy options? Like, I want my parents to eat healthy. I want them to live a long and healthy life, to be around for me and their grandchildren, my children, as long as possible, and not just to live a long life, hopefully, but also to live a healthy long life, which
Yeah.
means that what they're putting in their body matters. And so it was in that moment that I felt that feeling of just kind of like, why are there not more healthy restaurants out there uh, for my parents to eat at? That the next thought was, I need to start one. I need to start a restaurant that my parents can eat every meal at, and I would feel confident that they're going to live a longer, healthier life. That my children can eat every meal at, and I'm going to feel confident that they're going to live a longer, healthier life. And that my community can eat at, and I feel that confidence they're going to live a longer and healthier life. And
I f-
it just took off from there.
so let me ask you this. So that was in 2011. When did you open the first one? 2012, you said?
Yeah, 2012. So I had the idea in November of 2011, and then by May of 2012, I had opened the first Virginia Beach location.
So at what point did you become vegan? Was it before 2011
Yeah,
or between that year?
no. So that's part of the crazy story is when I was a teenager, I tried to go vegan for a little while. I tried to like go healthy plant based actually, and it only lasted a few days. But I kept trying to eat healthy, and I would just constantly revert back to not eating healthy. And it really became something where I tried to do a diet, but I'm constantly feeling shame for not doing it. And
Yeah.
like the cycle that many people get into, feeling around their feelings around food, and my feelings around food at that kind of in my teen years was just kind of constant feeling of shame. Like I'm never quite eating healthy enough. And so, because of that experience, it was like a negative experience around plant based dieting or even a vegan diet. I didn't want to go plant based again because I just felt like I was a failure. Like, I don't want to go through that again. Like that feeling of always feeling shame around what I'm eating. And so, and yet I maintained that belief that the healthiest diet was a whole food plant based diet through the years. So while I didn't do it, I aspired to. And I had this
Yeah.
vision in my mind, like, oh, if I really want to be healthy, it's going to look this way. But then I felt like, oh, I'm not self-disciplined enough. I don't have enough self-control. So I'm not going to commit to it, but I want to start a restaurant that is committed to it. So that when I eat there, I know that I'm choosing healthy. When my family eats there, when my community eats there, they're choosing the healthy option. And so we opened Fruitive, 100% plant-based on day one, very strict standards on day one, and we've kept that all the way through. We've never had a single drop of milk or meat on our kitchen counters ever. And so, and yet I didn't make that change, partly because of my own shame and my own, feelings around lacking self-control until I was almost 40.
Yeah.
And what happened is it's funny because it started a couple years after I started Fruitive. It was 2014, and I started in January of 2014. I decided to do a New Year's resolution. I decided to keep a journal every day, and I kept my standard low. I was like, for the journal, it can be short. It doesn't have to be long, just like one paragraph at a minimum. Well, what happened is I kept up with that the whole year. And so for the first time in my life, I was around 36. I was like actually able to do something consistently. And I felt after a whole year of that, like, wow, I actually can follow through on a commitment. I actually do have some
Yeah.
self-control and some self-discipline. And so I was like, man, maybe next year I'll do something around fitness. So the next year I kind of came up with an idea around an exercise routine I wanted to do. And I was faithful all year with something small, not too big of a deal, but I was able to be consistent with it. And so what happened is I needed to build my confidence back that I can
Yeah.
actually commit to something that I had lost earlier in that confidence earlier in my teen years. And so by the time I was about to turn 40, I had over the previous few years kind of built back my confidence and my ability to follow through on a plan and really commit to something. And so when I came into the year 2018, I decided I'm going to go vegetarian this year as my kind of New Year's resolution. So I started and I went vegetarian. And of course, when I ate at Fruitive, it was plant-based. But when I ate out at restaurants or went other places, I would be vegetarian. And the idea of giving up cheese at the time was just like, how could I give up cheese? And so
Yeah.
I went all the way until May, and my birthday is May 6th. And I was going to be 40 in 2018. And so I'm coming up to my birthday, and I'd been really consistently vegetarian. And I was like, well, why not be plant-based now? Like, why not just, I'm proven to myself that I can keep a diet. And so I'm running a plant-based restaurant. I founded a plant-based restaurant. Now's the time. And so I went plant-based on that day. And a little side note, I had struggled with migraines throughout my life. Even when I was vegetarian for that 5 months, I had migraines. And I'm not just talking about little migraines. I've been to the doctor many times, starting when I was 13 years old. My parents brought me to the doctor about migraines. And they were like, it was the full like head pounding, wanting to be in a dark room, sweating, throwing up, nauseous, waking up the next morning, like feeling really worn out, completely drained. And so I went, even when I was vegetarian for that 4.5 months, I was still getting the migraines, not always the most severe, but usually a low grade migraine, on average a couple days a week.
Yeah.
When I went fully 100% plant-based on May 6, 2018, I didn't realize the impact. I didn't maybe believe the impact it could have on my migraines. But after a month of being migraine free, I was like, whoa, I haven't had a migraine in a month being completely plant-based. And then I went 2 months, and then I went the whole summer. Well, by the end of that summer, my wife and my kids saw the transformation in me. They saw a dad who had struggled with migraines for my kids their whole lives. And now I'm migraine free. And my wife and kids saw such a drastic change that they were like, we're doing this too. And so on that day, that summer, it really became not just something that I did in my restaurant, but it was, sorry, my auto light turned off there. It became something that was not just in my restaurant. And then it became something that was not just me personally. It became something that we did as a household, really because my family saw the transformation in my health. And, I will never go back. If you've had migraines, if you're a person who suffered with migraines and then you're migraine free, like it just doesn't make any sense to me to go back. So I'm happily plant-based. And
what do you think it was? What do you think did you cut out? Was it like when you were vegetarian, were you eating like dairy and eggs? Do you think it was like, which one were you still eating that you cut out that you think made the difference?
I don't know. I mean, there is some research on it. Every once in a while I'll see an article pop up that talks about some more studies that are being done on this connection between, plant-based and being migraine free. So I have seen a few studies on it. When I've talked to some of the different plant-based doctors, they're not surprised, and they're saying, yeah, we hear other people. There's not a lot of research on it, but we hear other people saying, the same thing, that they're seeing that kind of transformation from embracing a whole food plant-based diet.
Yeah, that's wild. Well, I appreciate you sharing your story. That's beautiful. It's so intriguing how confidence is built, right? Like I grew up, like I had my fair share of insecurity, a lot of it, lack of discipline, bad relationship with food and binge eating and weight and all that. Mm-hmm. But it's like when you pick that really one small thing and you don't put a ton of pressure on yourself and you make that bar to commitment very small, and then you stick to it, you're that sense of surprise of like, oh shit, I did it. Maybe I am able to stick to something for an extended period of time. And then you kind of amp it up a little bit in terms of intensity. And it's beautiful. Now it led you to make this big shift in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you, I do get the opportunity to coach people once in a while. And it's funny how many people say, okay, I want to do this. And it's really big and it's really amazing. And I say, okay, we're going to cut that way down. And we're just going to start really small, really simple, basic. And then we're going to be consistent at that, because you need to not only change your lifestyle, but you also need to build that confidence in yourself back again. Because for so many people, it's a lifetime of failing at different diets. It's a lifetime of feeling that shame around food or around not exercising enough. And it's really like, It's that belief that they have in their ability to actually be consistent that really we need to help them change. And that's going to happen through them actually consistently following through with a practice, with a commitment. But in order to follow through that with that commitment, it needs to be small enough. I like to say it needs to be small enough, your daily commitment that you're going to do, that you can do it on your hardest days, or that you can do it on the days that it's the most difficult to do. So this person that I've been working with this summer, he, when we were looking at what he's going to do exercise, I said, how many steps a day is your phone recording that you do on average? And he said, well, it's saying that I do an average of 6,000 a day. That's what I've been doing. I'm like, okay, let's bump that up to 6,500. And what you're going to do is every day we're going to have a little checklist, and you're just going to make sure that you get that 6,500 a day. And that's kind of what we started with. That's what we built on. We didn't go to like, oh, let's start running a marathon. But now after just 4.5 months, he's talking about wanting to do a triathlon next year, which he couldn't even run when we started this. And so it's just, you probably see it all the time being, the fit vegan coach.
It's very rewarding.
Yeah. It's just incredible to see a life change like this.
Yeah. And it's so interesting that the body and nutrition and health standpoint in terms of building confidence in that area is so isolated in its own thing. And what I mean by that is, as much as you were building up your confidence in that area, you were still running a business, which, for a fact requires a lot of confidence and discipline to be able to take the risk, build the business, invest the money, hire the people, and, do the day-to-day operation. That is a lot of discipline. That is a lot of, of effort put into that. And so it's so intriguing that in our brain, it's like two separate things, right? Because obviously you have to be disciplined to run a business, especially as long as you have.
Yeah, it's that's a really good point. Yeah, I want to think about that more. Just how like that difference between like the kind of confidence we have to like start a business or do something great, to follow a passion, versus that confidence we have in ourselves to be consistent at what we're putting in our mouth or how much we're exercising. It's an interesting thought.
Yeah, like I personally work with a lot of like the people that work with me, very successful in their financial and their career life, but struggle with their nutrition and their fitness. And they're like, I'm just not disciplined. I'm like, you built a massive business. Like, so yeah, you are disciplined because you did this thing, right? It's just now we need to kind of translate some of those tools. And it's just, it's a muscle that hasn't been flexed in that area, right? Because building a business, to a certain extent, people say you can't shut off your brain, but to a certain extent you do, right? Like you don't think about business 24/7. You're with your wife, you're with your kids. Sometimes you're on vacation. There's times where you don't think of it, but you have to eat food every day, right? Like every day, if you tell yourself you need to work out and you don't go and work out, I've been there. You think of it all day. Like I should work out, I should work out, I should work out. And it's too late. You're like, oh shit, I didn't work out today. And then start that whole process the next day. And you just beat yourself up the whole time until you actually do it.
That's crazy. The way we behave towards ourselves sometimes.
Yeah. I love human psychology. And again, we've helped like over 800 people now. So I've seen a lot of, you see patterns basically, right? Amongst sets of people, different age groups, different careers. So yeah, it's very intriguing.
Wow.
I wanted to ask you that question earlier because you mentioned when you were a kid, you tried to eat vegan, and that you were convinced that eating this way was the healthiest. Yeah. Where did that conviction come from? Because man, when I went vegan 10 years ago, it was not cool at all. And you went vegan, you tried to go vegan way before I did. And so what made it so that you were so convinced that that was the healthy way to go?
Yeah. So, it started when I was really young because my dad, even though we ate the standard American diet, my dad, he would always say, eat your fruits and vegetables. and so we would like, especially in the evenings, he would be like, okay, you can only have fruits and vegetables tonight before bed. And we'd be like, oh, Dad, I want to have chips or I want to have ice creams. You're like, no, you got to have fruits and vegetables. So I think growing up with your dad telling you, like, you can only have fruits and vegetables because it's late and you got to eat something healthy. Like, there was that, that belief that fruits and vegetables are healthy. And I think a lot of people had that. Like, it wasn't just my dad who said that. I think there's this kind of general idea that eating your fruits and vegetables is healthy.
Yeah.
Even like you just look at you just look at the health organizations around the world. The World Health Organizations are saying like you need to eat 5 portions of fruits and vegetables a day. Like that's not just in America we hear that. That's all over the world. We're encouraging people to eat their fruits and vegetables. And that's based off of, just all the research, an abundant amount of research. And so it really started with that. But when I was a teenager, my parents, I don't know how they got this video, but they got this video and you can find it on YouTube still. It's like from the 90s. And it's this guy named George Melkmus. And he was this kind of crazy preacher guy who called his diet the Hallelujah diet. And he was like, pretty much he went to he's from Tennessee and he's got like this Tennessee accent. He's got this big Tennessee farm where he's growing fruits and vegetables. And he's like preaching about like how the Bible started off where Adam and Eve only ate fruits and vegetables. And then he talks about like Daniel eating his fruits and vegetables. And by the end of that 1 hour video, I was like, convinced by this preacher, and he converted me like that eating plant-based was the healthy way to live and eat. And so that's when I like, it went from my dad saying, eat your fruits and vegetables to all of a sudden now it's this like religious duty to eat healthy. And maybe that's where some of the shame came in at that in those teen years, is like thinking, oh, this is the way I'm supposed to eat. This Hallelujah diet, and I try to, but I didn't really have the support system around me to eat that way or to really change my diet. And so it was at that time in my life, it was just one more thing that I was trying to do in order to like be a better person that I was struggling at.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. Oh, that man's a great marketer. I've never heard of the Hallelujah diet. Hey, I don't think it would swing nowadays, but like back then, like that, he was innovative. That's great marketing.
I don't know what he's up to anymore, but it's it impacted me back in the 90s.
Yeah, maybe he still has his farm. No, it's interesting because you ever seen? It's a new documentary, Christspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
It's Kip Anderson, the documentary "What the Health."
Okay, yeah,
so
I know
Kip Longhair.
Anderson.
So him and Cam, a buddy of mine. So they did this documentary to basically prove that Jesus was vegan.
Oh, interesting.
And
I'm gonna have to watch that.
Very well done. Oh. Like we went to the red carpet premiere for it. And at the end, man, I was excited. I was like, Jesus he was vegan. He was the OG activist, and all the proof that they kind of bring on together and these experts that they come in. I was like, wow, this is like, I can't wait for it to be more available. It's in some movie theaters. I think it's might be available online, but if you have a chance to watch that, man, honestly, they did such a good job.
Really?
And I'm waiting for it to be available to send it to my parents, because it was phenomenally done.
Wow. I have some customers that are Seventh-day Adventists, and they are just like really, really cool people. Like they are just like, they love their plant-based diet. It's part of their, it's part of their belief system. They're nice. Like one of the families that comes, they got kids, and they're just pleasant. They're really pleasant people. They're like kind.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I'm no matter where people are at on their journey, with religion or faith, like, yeah, I think that, as long as it doesn't get into this shame cycle that I was in, that's where it's just like, that wasn't really helpful for me. but coming back around to being plant-based, and really my own journey, coming back around to it and embracing it and really kind of seeing the change in my life, health wise. I can't imagine going back.
Yeah. Well, if you don't mind me asking, because I'm sure someone is listening that can relate to your story, they're potentially in a similar
Mhm.
position. So like if you had the opportunity to talk to Greg back in the day who was feeling shamed about not
Mhm.
being able to stick to, like, what would you tell him now that you're in this position?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. I think that because I've been able to coach a few other people now and help people, I would say, uh, hey, like, let's let's work together. Let's create a little checklist, a daily checklist. Let's start small, um, and you're going to need, you're going to need a plan in place to really follow through on this. It's not just going to be a sudden kind of revival moment, and then you're just going to like change the way you eat without a plan in place. Maybe your family on board or family members on board who are going to help you change your diet, and then we're just gonna keep uh, make a commitment to what your diet change is going to be, a plan in place for how that's gonna play out, and a strategy, so a realistic strategy.
Do you mind if I dive deeper?
Yeah.
I'm just yeah. So that's a very tangible plan, but in terms of dealing with the guilt,
Mm-hmm.
right, of like the imperfection,
Yeah.
because I'm just thinking about like when I was a kid, how I would say that. So like
Mm-hmm.
how would you tell your younger self? Again, there might be someone listening that's in the exact same position. So that's why
Yeah.
I'm trying to get the lesson. Like how would you deal with the guilt of knowing that you should do that thing, but you're not doing it, but to still kind of move along with it with with
Yeah.
with your experience.
Yeah, that's good. So I like to think of shame as, so let's just say that anger is kind of like, uh, anger and shame are kind of in the same family of emotions. So I
Mm.
would probably start off by just, let's talk about what you're feeling. Like, let's talk about these emotions. So the emotion you're feeling is this shame, or whatever we want to call it, guilt, condemnation. It's just anger towards yourself. And so I think of like, if I think of anger, I think of anger almost like a bodyguard, that's
Yeah.
going to rise up to protect me when there's something threatening me or what I care about. So anger is going to rise up to try to protect me. Well, now take that same bodyguard and turn it inward towards myself. And now that bodyguard emotion of anger turned in towards myself. Whenever I do something that is against my own values, or I do something that is against the things I care about, it's that same anger, that kind of bodyguard emotion that's going to rise up, but it's faced inward towards myself.
Mm.
And so, what I need to do is I need to reflect on what are my standards that's causing this anger towards myself, or this shame to rise up whenever I break that. And are those standards that I have, are they realistic? Uh, do they make sense at this point in my life? If it's something where I'm in a shame cycle and it's every time I'm eating a certain way, I'm feeling shame, I really need to stop and say, is my values that I have, this new value around food, is it realistic at this point in my life, with the family that I'm in, with the structure that I have around me? And if it's not, maybe I need to reconsider those values that I have for myself, and maybe I need to change them a little bit, or get other people around me on board, or find a community that shares those values so I have that support system. Um, and once I can get my values kind of in alignment with the way that I can practically live, then that shame is gonna settle down. That bodyguard emotion of shame is gonna kind of quiet down, because I've now aligned my behavior with my values.
That's beautifully put. I've never heard anyone put it that way. And yeah, no, that's a beautiful illustration. And would you say that that requires a few ounces of patience as you kind of learn to change, adapt to the value and kind of potentially build that environment or that community around you?
Yeah, I like to, when I think of the word patience, I really like to think about just, um, you know, just accepting what is right now. Like if I'm in a traffic jam and I need to get somewhere and there's nothing I could do because I'm in a traffic jam, it's not, I got a choice in that moment. Either I'm going to fly off the handle and start honking my horn and like acting crazy and getting my heart rate up, or I can say, you know what, uh, I can't change the situation I'm in, but uh, I can change the way I respond to this. And so that's what I think of when I think of patience. And I think like, yeah, it's so much patience that we need towards ourselves to say, hey, like I have a whole history behind me, and all the influences of all the people that have influenced me throughout my life that have kind of brought me right to this moment I'm in right now. And I can
Yeah.
just kind of have patience towards myself, accept myself for who I am, where I'm at. And it's in that place of acceptance that I can uh, get excited about growth. But if
Yeah.
I'm living this life where I'm never quite accepting myself and I'm always trying to reach for something else, it's just kind of like this negative cycle we get into where we're not happy where we are at. If we're not happy where we're at, it's really hard to be happy with where we're going. If I can find this contentment and this gratitude and this acceptance of where I stand right now, and it's out of that I look ahead and say, okay, from this place that I'm in now, that I fully accept where I'm at, let me look ahead and say, where do I want to go and how can I grow to get there?
Damn. All right, that opens up two doors for me in my head. This is great. This is great. Um, so I love what you said. Patience is just the acceptance of it is what it is, pretty much like right now. Like if you're in traffic,
Mm-hmm.
honking or anything won't change anything. But accepting that you're in traffic and you can't change the fact that you need to be somewhere in 5 minutes that you won't make it does, when you think of it, does bring a sense of peace of like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't do anything about it. What's the point of stressing? So I
Mm-hmm.
love that. You brought up the idea of contentment, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then I'm just going to open a door that's like broader than plant-based
Yeah.
eating. But just because a lot of people that listen to the show are type A, perfectionist,
Yeah.
overachievers, which I'm gonna put you in that category too, because you've
Yeah.
opened up several restaurants and you don't get there without being that.
Yeah.
So that idea of contentment, of
Mm-hmm.
the acceptance of where you are,
Mm-hmm.
and putting out there a future vision of like, when I get there, then I will
Mm-hmm.
be content, then I will be happy.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a big question. How have you navigated that through your life experiences? Because I'm like deeply thinking about these things over the past few
Yeah.
years as I've had success in business, and it's such an interesting thing to try to comprehend. So I'm curious how you've navigated that out of your own journey of transformation, out of building your businesses, and obviously you've coached several people to kind of improve their health.
Yeah. Um, so that's a great question. It's it's really kind of my daughter. She's in college and she wanted to intern with me for the summer. So she just finished a summer internship with me. And at the end of the summer, we did a quick debrief. Like, how was this internship for you? And she said the biggest impact on my life was watching you embrace the moment and love what is in the moment, no matter what was happening, no matter what struggle you were going through, no matter how hard things were. It was just this like you living out in the workplace and in your daily life this idea that we've heard about in the home of like just embracing what is. I like to to think about it as like um, the I actually just wrote this note earlier today. I said the moment and momentum of love. That when I can just love what is right now, this moment I'm in, love. A lot of people like to think of love as this action. That love without action, is just a feeling. But love with
Mm-hmm.
action is this expression. And so this to the moment and the momentum of love is the idea that I love what is right now, and it's based on accepting this moment, that I have momentum to grow, that I have momentum to move forward and love what is going to be next, and to build and continue to grow and mature, whether it's fitness, whether it's exercise, whether it's sleep habits, whether it's community, whether it's family and how close I am to my family. It's if we're constantly struggling to get somewhere, most likely we're going to continue to struggle when we get there. And so
Yeah.
learning how to calm down and just say, like, hey, I'm going to embrace what is right now, exactly what is. This is what life has handed me, exactly where I'm at now. And I have a choice. I accept it, I embrace it, or I reject it and I hate it. That's up to me. And if I can accept it, what I've found in my life is that it's so much easier to grow from a place of acceptance than from a place of frustration.
What was the quote you wrote?
The moment and momentum of love. So one of the I have like a list of like over 20 checklist items that I go through every single evening before I go to bed. It's like 20 minutes before I go to bed, I have what I call my my accountability journal, and it's like a checklist. So I have it every single day without fail. I go through my checklist. And one of my checklist items is my daughter is off at college. So we wanted a way to connect every day. So every day I send her a book title. And the idea is, if I were to write a book today, this would be my book title. So as I go through my days, a lot of times I'll have ideas and I'll just kind of jot them down. And I'm thinking about my book title that I'm going to send to my daughter today. And so I wrote this down earlier today, the moment and momentum of love, as the book title I was going to send her today. So it's cool that we ended up in this place talking about something that was already on my mind today. Another one of my checklist items that I do faithfully every day is when I get home, if I chase my kids around. And the reason I started doing that, it's actually one of my favorite habits of all my habits I do. It's because, it's easy to do exercise habits, easy to have habits around, I shouldn't say easy, but, a lot of people, they think of habits and they think of exercise, they think of diet, they think of sleep habits, they think of habits around their technology. But I really wanted to create habits around connecting with the people in my life. And so that's where I said, what habit can I form or create or keep track of where it's about like really connecting? And my kids love it. I walk in the door every day. My kids, there's fun. We're chasing each other around. We're tickling on the floor. And that's just, or connecting with my daughter that's at college. So we got to go. It's fun that we're talking about diet, but going beyond diet, because it's really a holistic life of really like making healthy choices around all these different areas, around our community, around our people, around our connections, around family, around sleep, technology use, and all these things that we're talking about.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. I love that, because a lot of people will set just like the standard of what they would consider to be the norm of habits, of like what is from a social media standpoint should be on your to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, why do we eat healthy and exercise? So we can have quality in our life, so we can spend time with the people that we love in our family,
Exactly.
right? Like when you're 90, you don't care if you have a six-pack or not. You care if you're able to move and be conscious and, spend time with the people you love.
Exactly.
And, I feel it is an age thing, right? Because when you're younger, you're like six-pack and then biceps. And eventually it's like, I just want my joints not to hurt. And then it's like, I want to be able to, we have one of our clients, she's like, I just want to be able to stand on one foot, put my sock on without having to hold on to anything, and my gut not to be in the way. I'm like, that's a beautiful goal. That's what life is about.
I love it. I love it.
Awesome. Well, Dan, that was a beautiful tangent. I appreciate you diving deep with me into that.
You're welcome. You know what? I just got a message from the restaurant, and they said they're slammed right now, and they were like, "Hey, are you done with the podcast? Because we're slammed. We need your help.
Okay, well we'll wrap it up right now. So,
Cool.
for everyone listening, if you enjoyed the episode, go show Greg some love. I'm gonna put all the links down below to the restaurants and social media, so you guys can go and support and follow. If you are in Washington D.C. or in Virginia Beach, go check out the restaurant. Greg, man, thank you very much for jumping on the show. I appreciate it, and everyone else, we'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah, you're
All
welcome.
right.
No, great opportunity to accept what is right now and love what is. I'm excited that my restaurant's busy and we just had a blast together. So thank you so much.